Good morning, and peace be upon you, peace be upon all of us. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to be very brief, and don't be scared by this. This is a handout. And the handout helps me to be brief. I'll make some remarks that aren't on the handout. Please don't multitask. You can read it at your leisure, but it's just an overview of what's going on reentry, the reentry challenge in our region. You all know that California has been gaining momentum on major policy changes, and some of those changes are spelled out in that handout. We do everything in California by the numbers, so we have AB 109, we have AB 218, and we have Proposition 47, which was already alluded to. It's the anniversary of Prop 47's enactment by the voters of California by a very substantial margin. We should celebrate that and say happy birthday, Prop 47. Now let's make it real. Let's make it work for the people who've been afflicted and their communities. You recall that the focus of Prop 47 was not simply to reclassify 6 former felony offenses as misdemeanor offenses, but to do so retroactively, hugely important, and allow people to change their record, giving people a whole new second chance that was formerly unavailable. But 47 was also to give entire communities a second chance by taking the massive amount of funds to be saved from shrinking down the state prison system and investing those funds in community development, investing those funds in education, in essentially crime prevention, and not in traditional law enforcement functions. That's really the big challenge. That money doesn't start to flow until the middle of next year. And we need to really watch that, because in the state of California, with its vast population and its hundreds of millions of dollars in state funds that are supposed to be designated for a particular purpose can somehow, slip away from us. So that's one of our challenges going forward. As well, I think you know that statewide law enforcement has conducted a smear campaign against Prop 47, saying that increases in property crime are definitely attributable to Prop 47 without any evidence. This keeps getting mentioned, just as, for example, the FBI director and the head of DEA said this past week, well, the police can't do their job because of the attention that's focused now on policing. Neither is true. But we keep hearing this, and what they say is our hands are tied. We can't deal with these problem people anymore because they have a go-home free pass. In fact, police officers, and I know our sergeant will back this up, are completely empowered to detain and arrest people who commit crimes, whether those are misdemeanor offenses or felony offenses. They just don't like to do the misdemeanor kind. So we have to watch that and be careful that the narrative about Prop 47 isn't turned into a crime wave narrative by virtue of irresponsible discrediting. There are 3 basic needs that people have when they reenter from incarceration. You all know them better than I know them. Services, basic services, the capacity to navigate the services, which is a big challenge, huge challenge. And then, of course, a stable housing situation. We in faith communities would also say a radical welcome of our sisters and brothers, an embrace of our sisters and brothers, a solidarity element in that. But those 3, the availability of services, quality of them, the capacity to navigate in housing, are all in question in Southern California as we try to turn a page in our whole criminal justice system. We have the reforms on paper, but making this all real is the hard part. We have, of course, a housing crisis in Southern California that just won't quit, so the housing challenge is particularly difficult in our region. I want to say as well, as for public safety realignment, which is now into its 5th year, This, of course, was done under court order because of unhealthful conditions in the state prisons. The state provided an endless stream of money to the 58 counties that is not earmarked, essentially. You can do anything you want with that in the interest of preventing recidivism. You can incarcerate people, you can also provide services for people, you can provide wraparound services for people. The counties in California have done this very differently, and I'm very sorry to say, and this, it's no secret that I feel this, and Sergeant Martinez can report this back to the sheriff if he wants. LA County has not stepped up. LA County has done I won't use bad language, has done a very poor job here with the great lion's share of those funds. In the case of this county, it's over $300 million a year. So we're up to close to $2 billion total since this thing started. The great bulk of it has stayed with law enforcement, and very little has gone into community-based services. I know the community-based service providers really well because I serve on the executive committee of the Reentry Partnership, the LARP it's called, Los Angeles Area Reentry Partnership. They're not getting the money. And recently, we've been told that the Sheriff's Department is now saying that the daily cost of housing somebody, housing an inmate, has gone to $132 from $74. We haven't seen the fine print on that, but that is being used by the sheriff to say, well, we need all this money, right? Because our costs are higher. I talk all the time to the supervisors and their justice deputies, the deputies who are assigned to help advise them on criminal justice, and I say, are you going to fight this or not? Because other counties, including urban counties like San Diego, give over 50% of these AB 109 funds to the community providers. That is the change we need from services that are, in theory, provided inside but never quite appear to services that are in a community setting. That's how we change the formula from a fear-based approach to criminal justice to a public health approach to criminal justice and public safety. So actions, there are some actions listed on your sheet. We've got to defend Prop 47 and help implement it. It sunsets. If people don't get their records reclassified by November 2017, it's not going to happen. So a clock is ticking. We've got 300,000 people in Los Angeles County alone who will qualify for this if we can reach them and help them through this process. We have to keep hammering away that the realignment fund should be used for realignment, which means a different model for public safety, put those funds into community-based services. We've got to keep going on ban the box. Yes, the federal government has taken some steps on ban the box. California took a huge step with AB 218. We fought hard in the legislature to get that through, but it takes a lot of legwork. I mean, we need to go see the city officials here in Garden Grove and say, on your public works department, who have you got? On your this and that department, who have you got? And get people to affirmatively employ people who've experienced incarceration. Because you all know this, without a job, ultimately the recidivism continues. And then I think we have to press seriously for pretrial release. I was a part of the big fight over the size of the new jails that are going to be expanded and built in LA County. I think those resources would be much better spent elsewhere, but that's done. The thing is going to happen. The question, however, is, can we still, in a system this big, can we still take maybe 1,500 people who are held in pretrial in the jail system here, who are no threat to society? They're just poor. They can't make bail. Can we get those people out? There's no need for them to be in there. We still, in this county, over-incarcerate on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being maximum over-incarceration. We're still at an 8 in LA County. And we should face that fact, and we should fight that fact. Finally, I leave you with this quote from, and I want to thank Dr. Siddiqui for mentioning the need for us to help all our brothers, including the oppressors, the need to disagree without being disagreeable. When I meet with the sheriff and his people, I'm always respectful, but I'm always clear where I disagree. We have to keep that principle in mind, especially as faith leaders. and help them, right, as you say. Finally, the great Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky left us with this thought, and I want to leave it with you today. The degree of civilization in any society can be judged by entering its prisons. And by that measure, our great country falls very, very short. Thank you.